That's when you're like, I'm going to catch up and watch the Fantastic Four movie.
Exactly.
Because apparently that's an important thing for me to do. And then, yeah. Okay.
You start.
I start?
Yep.
Okay. I didn't remember. Well, welcome to the show. Why did you read that, everybody?
Yes.
We were on a short hiatus.
We were,
I
but
had
we are
a
back.
medical situation.
Yep.
That I'm not going to describe because it's, okay, here's what's funny about it. It's a thing that, like, when you have a thing, people want to know, you know, like, oh, what's going on? But then if I tell them the thing, they wish they hadn't asked. Because they don't want to know.
Yeah.
So trust me when I say, dear listener, you don't actually want to know. But
you look great.
I'm fine. Thank you.
Yeah.
I lost like 20 pounds.
Oh.
I may have put some of it back on. I don't know. I don't have a scale at home.
It's just an excuse for donuts.
I ate some ice cream last night.
Excellent. Well
and
done.
I was like, I need this.
Yeah.
Physically, it's an emergency. All right. You going to start us off with a joke?
I am. I like it. I think you're going to hate it.
Oh, man.
My friend thought he found a whole dinosaur skeleton in his backyard. It was just a false alarm.
Oh, boy. I mean, it does go with our summer reading Unearth a Story theme.
It does.
So I do like that.
Yep.
Was that intentional or was that bonus?
It was in my brain. It's not why I picked it, but I was like, this seems also to fit.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sign up online at mylibrary.us/SRA.
All kinds of things happen in this summer for the families.
Stuff. It's wild how much stuff there is.
And even for the adults, because we have adult programs too.
Yeah. And I always like to remind people, like, you can totally double dip. So, like, if you're in Arrow and SRA, you can count the same book for both.
That's right.
I mean,
the book police were not going to arrest you.
No, they're like, move along.
Yep. Nothing to see here.
All right. I've got my 4 things.
I have my pen ready to take notes.
The first one. Now, this is one you may not have heard of.
Okay.
It's kind of from the depths of the literary world.
I mean, I've heard of a lot of things.
The Shining by Stephen King.
You're kidding me.
What a bait and switch.
So obscure.
I do have some things to say about it.
Okay.
And I did finish it.
Okay.
And I promised it on the last episode because I was going to go to the Stanley Hotel.
Oh, that's right.
But I didn't end up being able to go because of my medical situation.
Bummer.
But I have been there before, so I can tell some things about it and also talk about The Shining.
Are you going to go in the future? Are you rescheduling?
I think so.
Good.
We haven't made specific plans to go in the future. It's like, for me, like a Colorado bucket listy thing and it's like expensive. Mm-hmm. It's not like wildly expensive.
Especially since you don't need like plane tickets and stuff.
Right. Yeah. It's, I don't know, an hour away.
Yeah.
And then we just stay there and then come home. Mm-hmm. My suspicion is that it'll be a little underwhelming because, it's a hotel. Mm-hmm. But at the same time.
And it's an old hotel, so the rooms are smallish.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't look super fancy, the rooms really, or at least not the rooms I was going to purchase. You know what's weird about, the Stanley, when I made our booking, it was cheaper to stay in a room. How did this work? It was more expensive to stay in a room with, I can't remember how this worked. There was a room that had 2 queen beds and a room that had a king bed. And like the price difference was almost non-existent. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like the same amount of money for 2 whole beds versus for 1 bed in terms of square footage of sleeping area.
Well, you're assuming
per dollar.
Maybe those 2 queens are really snugged in there.
Maybe. Could be like you're edging around them to get around the room. When we stayed in Japan, we stayed in comically small hotels. It was like the first one we stayed in was pretty small. And then I think the second one we stayed in was the last one. It was ridiculous. And I was like, I'm glad we're staying here last. Yeah. Because we're a little more accustomed to.
And you're also not like, if this is where we're beginning, what are we in for?
Yeah. What's next?
Yeah.
it was so small, like we had to have our suitcases and then move them to open the door to go in the bathroom. Or like then we had to shuffle them the other way to open the door to leave the room. And it was like that small. It was that tight. Okay. Next is a book called Paradox Twins by Joshua Chaplinsky.
Okay.
This is a book about two brothers, and there's kind of a third character. Their father has passed away. They're cleaning out his house. And the book is kind of composed of, what do you call that when it like Dracula, where it's like different people's accounts?
Oh,
whatever.
like
Epistolary?
epistolary is specifically letters, but like Dracula is also like journal entries and stuff.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean.
Let's call it found footage.
Sure. I'm down for it.
Next is a graphic novel, Event Horizon Dark Descent by
Is
Christian
this like the
Ward.
movie?
It is.
Okay.
It is like a prequel to the movie.
Okay.
So for all you Event Horizon heads out there, all you Paul W.S. Anderson fans, there's a comic book about it now.
All right. So it's new, even.
It's new-ish, I think. I think there were like 5 issues that came out over the last year, and I think it's just now been put into like a bound trade paperback.
Cool.
But I read it in the individual issues on Hoopla, which was sort of stupid because I had to use like 5 checkouts instead of 1.
Yeah.
But I wasn't patient because my brother told me to read it. So I was like, all right, I'll read it on his recommendation and not wait. And then the last is The Land and Its People by David Sedaris.
Oh, nice.
A famous essayist who, you know, puts out a book every couple of years of stuff from his journals, basically.
Yeah.
And
I used to read his, the one where he's a Macy's elf.
oh, yeah. Holidays on Ice.
Yeah. I used to read that every year when I worked retail because it got me through
Yeah.
a very trying season when you work retail.
That was like his big breakthrough thing, I think. Because
It
I think
was.
he read that out loud, like on NPR or something, and that became like a thing.
I think I don't know if it's him or if it's, anyway, there's a stage production, and I think it's become a bit of a tradition for places to hold, like, stage that every year.
It's a very, very good essay.
It's very
funny. Yeah.
And very true.
Yeah. And his essays have changed quite a bit over the years, but like I still find him very funny and entertaining.
Nice. All right. Well, I want to start with The Shining because I'm curious what you thought of it. Is this the first time that you'd read it?
I've never read it before.
Oh, fascinating.
So I had a very late start with Stephen King.
I kind of remember us talking about this when we were still both in the actual library.
Yeah, I think I bought the book The Long Walk when all the Borders were closing.
Yeah.
And I drove to one that was, I don't know, in Thornton or something, and they were clearancing things, and I bought it on clearance. And I had it for like 10 years, and then finally was like, let's see what this Stephen King guy is all about. And then I read that, and I loved it. And then I did a bunch of audiobooks of his and other stuff, and I just it's so funny, like, getting into him when you're in, like, I don't know, your 30s or whatever, because I was like, no one's going to listen to you when you're saying, this Stephen King's, I think he's really going places.
Although I do think, and we've talked about this before, he is one of the most underrated famous writers.
I agree. Like, I think as a storyteller and stuff, he's very underrated. I think something that I have come to really appreciate, too, is, you know, because, like, his track record in the movies is very up and down.
Yeah.
But I think something that I've come to appreciate, like, is that I feel like he writes books are the right format for his stories. And I think that is something I value. You know, I like reading a book where I'm like, this doesn't work as a movie, you know, and stuff like that. Anyway, so yeah, I've done several of his, but never done The Shining. I had like a paperback because I would just always like, if I saw one of his in mass market paperback at a used bookstore, I'd be like, oh, I haven't done that, so I guess I'll get it. So I got it and then had it for probably 10 years. and finally read it because I was going to go to the Stanley to see a concert and stuff, but then I was ailing, so I wasn't able to go. But I did finish the book anyway because I was like 3/4 through.
Yeah.
And was like, well, I mean, it's now or never. I'm not. If I don't finish this now, I'm never coming back to it.
It's done.
I would say, here's what's weird about it. Like, it is very different from the Stanley Kubrick movie.
Very.
I don't really remember how different it is from the Steven Weber TV movie.
I don't remember the TV movie well, but I do think it is much closer.
Yeah, that's what I'm told. I think because that's like Stephen King's preferred version because that he famously like doesn't care for the Stanley Kubrick movie, which is weird.
I mean, I'm not a huge fan of it either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not like the biggest Stanley Kubrick fan or Kubrick, whatever.
There are definitely moments that I think are iconic.
Yeah.
And performances that I think were great, but I don't know.
I think that's the thing is it's like the movie is a movie and probably just needs to be viewed very separately from the book.
Yeah.
Like as far as I think the movie does really well what movies do well and the book does well what books do well.
Yeah.
I think the problem with reading The Shining in like 2026 is it's like if you've never seen Raiders of the Lost Ark and it's like, well, you've never seen it, but you kind of have. You know what I mean? And through cultural osmosis, you know a lot of what's going on.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen and whatever.
Plus, it's influenced everything that came after it. So even if you haven't seen it, you've seen everything it influenced.
Yeah. It's sort of like if you'd never seen, who was it? Francis Ford Coppola made that Bram Stoker's Dracula. Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula. If you'd never seen that before, you would watch it and then be like, oh yeah, I remember this from The Simpsons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like a lot of that kind of thing. But so on one hand, it's an objectively, I think, a very good book. Like I think it's a great horror novel and like it's a good story. I really appreciated in the book, like the characters, you know, Jack Torrance, the sort of Jack Nicholson guy. He's unlikable in some ways, but not irredeemable. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And it's sort of like, you know, things are happening. He's doing bad things, but things are happening to him. And it's kind of a book where it oscillates back and forth in terms of how much control he has over himself and stuff. And I thought that was great. Like it's really, really nicely done. And, you know, I mean, it's been parodied and copied for a reason, right? Because it's like the perfect setup. They're off at this hotel in Estes Park that gets like shut down for the winter and they're isolated and there's no real escape. And then, you know, spooky stuff starts happening.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's a great scenario. There's a lot more like supernatural type stuff in the book than in the movie. Like
that's why I personally prefer it.
Yeah.
I love a haunted house above almost anything.
Yeah. And I think the book does a lot more, I don't want to say explaining, but like outlining what The Shining is, you know, and how that works is a little bit more fleshed out in the book, which is I enjoyed. So yeah, here's what I would say. If you don't know anything about The Shining, if you haven't heard of it, you haven't seen the movie, you know, I don't know if you're like a Gen Z person listening to this and maybe like The Shining has somehow faded a little bit. It
happened before they were born, so they don't have to know about it.
I don't even know. Yeah, that's a shared pet peeve of ours, I think.
Yeah.
And it's like the Beatles, that happened before I was, you know, that happened way back when. And it's like, yeah, that happened before I was born as well. Like,
yeah. But I still know about it.
I was not watching the Ed Sullivan Show, you know, with my wife in our 1950s home or whatever.
Get off my lawn.
I know, like, but like if you haven't really heard much about it or whatever, I think it's an excellent book and would highly recommend. I think it's good. And if you're the kind of person too who could like watch a movie and then turn around and read the book and enjoy it maybe more or less depending on which is better, I think you'll really enjoy it. Like I do think it's worth doing both if you dig that kind of stuff and if you like Stephen King. I think it's a good also probably first Stephen King if you've never read one. I like The Long Walk the best, but yeah. But I think it's a good kind of intro into how his books work and like how these sort of supernatural elements come into play. And I think he does really good like feeling of like childhood fears kind of creeping into life.
I love that so much in horror. I like to call it kids on bikes horror, you know?
Yeah. Very Stranger Things kind of vibe of like, it's like, it is very much that way, right? And that was the one too that I read that like, I liked the newer movies, the two movies, but I thought the book was so much better and just got so much more out of it. But I mean, that thing is a brick.
Oh, it is a honker.
Yeah. That's probably still the longest book I've ever read.
Have you read The Stand?
I listened to The Stand.
I think The Stand is longer. So if you count listening as longer, I think that you've read longer.
But yeah, and I loved The Stand. I don't think I've disliked anything of his I've read, but I would say there's a sliding scale of if I'm familiar with it from seeing the movies, I enjoy them a little less. You know, I enjoyed Christine a little less than I probably did.
I gotta say, I'm glad that we have different brains.
Yeah.
I am able to enjoy things like they're fresh and new. My brain is like a little goldfish brain.
Yeah.
And I'm happy for that.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people it probably would work just fine. And so if you ever have, wondered or whatever, it's a book that lives up to the hype.
Yeah.
It's like
I found it legitimately terrifying.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty frightening at points and like the climax is really good, and it doesn't take a super long time to get started, but it is also a little bit of a slow burn. It's like a nice balance of you don't feel like, oh, they're really rushing through this, but you also, like sometimes you watch like a 70s horror movie and you're just like, okay, I can see we're beefing this up so it'll play in theaters, but like we don't really need
People
this.
Say that, but I don't know. People complain a lot about like Halloween, the first Halloween.
Oh, sure.
But I think it is nearly a perfect horror movie.
I think it's got a pretty tight running time. Like, I don't know. There's not a lot
under
of
an hour and a half
extra on there.
Yeah.
But
I think people just are used to, immediate jump scares. And that one's a lot more about like atmosphere and tension. And I appreciate that myself.
I think Halloween, I just heard Patton Oswalt did a stand-up special and he was talking about, he showed his daughter the movie Halloween.
I saw a clip of that on my Instagram and it made me irritated.
Well, I think it's hard to put yourself in the mindset of like when that came out, this was a completely new thing. Like this was not a thing that people really had seen in a movie. It
started the slasher, like really.
And like watching it now, if you were a young person now and it's like, I've seen all the Scream movies and I've seen this and I've seen that. It's like, well, yeah, obviously, call the cops, he's like stalking you at your house or, whatever. But back then it was like, I don't know, it was a different
time.
It was a different time. Yeah. And like, yeah, if you saw, I don't know, it would be much creepier, I think. And like the idea of it is creepier.
I just think it shows a lack of imagination. Get off my lawn.
Yeah, I mean, that's one that I like. It's not my favorite, probably, but I can certainly appreciate what's going on there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do. I don't know, when people are like, it's not good, I'm like, well, that's going too far.
Let's dial it back.
Yeah, let's calm down. Sometimes when people say that too, I'm like, let me make you a little playlist of movies that are genuinely not good.
And there is no one more qualified for that than you.
Like, I saw Dracula 2000 in the theater, That is a terrible movie.
You watched Birdemic.
Yeah. I watched a significant chunk of Birdemic 2, which is, I cannot believe that Birdemic exists, but even more unbelievable is that he made the same movie again and a third time.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's like the same story. It's got a bunch of the same actors in it, like the same main character, same bland, horrible I don't know what that guy's thinking.
Well, he went almost viral once, so
yeah, I guess.
Why not do it again?
He's got to learn from a boy, Neil Breen. You can make basically the same movie, but you got to have at least like a different plot to it.
We need to move on.
And you need to make new, different, hilarious mistakes.
We don't have time for a thesis on Neil Breen.
So I don't know. That's my The Shining by Stephen King. It's like a qualified recommendation, but overall I did enjoy it and I appreciated it as a book. And
nice.
There we go.
Well, congratulations on having finally knocked off an icon.
Yeah, and it did feel like one of those books, I'm not a big should read kind of person, but I don't know.
When you're a Stephen King fan, it does feel like that's one that you should hit.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it feels weird to have read 10 Stephen King books and I'm like, I've never picked up The Shining.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready.
I have How Rory Thorne Destroyed the Multiverse by Kay Eason, which is like a space opera meets fairy tale kind of a thing, like fairy tales in space.
Okay.
Then I read a graphic novel, Aliens versus Avengers, because I am a sucker for any kind of alien xenomorph crossover, and I enjoy the Avengers, so double whammy.
Do you know what happened? I don't understand. Did Marvel acquire the rights to Aliens
no
and Predator?
Idea.
Or because there's been a rash lately of...
There have.
Yeah.
There have been several.
Okay.
Don't know why, but I'm here for it.
All right.
Then I have, I listened to it on audio, I See You've Called In Dead by John Kenny, which is about a guy who writes obituaries, and in a drunken depression one night, he writes his own false obituary and accidentally posts it on his newspaper's website.
All right.
And then I have a teen novel called Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert. And it is about childhood best friends who became estranged and then find themselves needing to work together for a leadership workshop that has the chance for a scholarship at the end.
Talia Hibbert, this is one of your
She writes
studies.
Adult romances that I always love. And this is her one teen novel.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Well, I have to hear about Aliens versus Avengers.
Okay.
That's a must pick.
I mean, it's kind of what you're expecting, I think, to a certain degree. It is an alternate universe where if alien lore, the engineers were responsible for the creation of ultimately the human race, and then they created the xenomorph to try and undo what they'd done. And so they're still at it, trying to destroy life in the universe by unleashing the alien everywhere. And they've pretty much succeeded. Most of the universe has fallen to the xenomorph. But there are a few little enclaves still standing. Wakanda is, doing better than you might think at trying to fight them. But they have gone to one of their last standing, outposts, research stations, and it happens to be near a black hole, so it does crazy things with time. So, they're in there for not very long, but it's quite a long time outside of it. So they're trying to get in there, get the information, and then get out before the fight is lost, outside of that. You also have, there's a final city that's kind of a walled city experience that Tony Stark built, because of course he did. And they are kind of holding on, and there are still people there. and there's a lab, and one of the people who's actually made the most like progress was Sue Storm or Sue Storm's daughter. I think it was her daughter.
Oh yeah. Valeria.
Sure. I don't know the lore, like the deeper lore of comic book stuff.
That's fair.
But that sounds, sure, we'll go with that. And
she has a name. It's Valeria.
I'm sorry.
Everyone knows that. Franklin and Valeria, the children of.
And it is, a darker kind of an experience because ultimately there's not a ton of hope when you're fighting,
right.
The xenomorph. It's kind of, they say, the perfect organism. And, it's very difficult to beat. And it doesn't rely on a lot of the, what you see in the movies, the previous ways they've defeated it. So like blasting it through the airlock doesn't happen. Pulse rifles, not so much. Like there are new and interesting ways to try to defeat the xenomorph, which is exciting. And some surprise, maybe traitors to the human cause, which is interesting. But mostly it's just a way to watch maybe a more even matchup because, humanity is not evenly matched for fighting the alien. Like if you've got one and a bunch of people who are well armed, maybe. Yeah. But
that is kind of a hilarious part of like Aliens because it's like the Space Marines go in there and really like most of them get wiped out in like, I don't know,
immediately
2-minute sequence. Like they're like almost all gone.
Well, and they're so overconfident. Like Bill Paxton's character is like, don't worry, we got nukes, knives, sharp sticks.
And they're all just like, whatever.
It'll be fine.
It's another day.
She saw an alien.
So like the Avengers in this book, it sounds
they're very old.
Oh, okay.
So Tony Stark is super old. Like he's still in the suit, but like if he's not in the suit, he's in a wheelchair. Like
okay.
And the Hulk, very old. And it's like the second generation. Miles Morales is the Spider-Man in these.
Okay.
So, there's the second generation Avengers and some older OG Avengers. I think Cap is in it too.
Okay.
But old.
Yeah, super old.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it's really just a way to watch like a more even matchup, but ultimately like still kind of a losing battle.
Yeah.
So be prepared for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's like a designed killing machine, right?
Yeah.
Like specifically to wipe out humanity.
It's a rough one.
Yeah.
That's why the Alien movies make such great horror movies.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, like, they're meant to be kind of a dark, hopeless experience.
They kind of remind me in a way of like a zombie movie, I think, horror-wise, because it's like they just kill things. They can't be reasoned with. They don't like want anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's not like a negotiation that can happen. It's just an animal.
Yeah.
And so you can't.
And there's no like, if I go into the middle of the ocean, they don't like water, so I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like, they don't really care. Space, water, doesn't matter. They'll go there.
I think, for me in those movies too, it was like when they started and they were like, they have acid for blood. And I was just like, okay, like this is just
well, it was
out
a
of control.
Genius move though, because when you're in the vacuum of space, there needs to be a reason why you can't just stab it,
right. Yeah.
And that's the perfect reason because it will, expose you to the vacuum of space and you'll die anyway.
Blow it up, because there's no good.
Yeah.
It does, I know like I think Ridley Scott took some crap for like Prometheus and all that stuff. But, when you're like, well, this thing is like a killing machine with acid for blood or whatever, and you're like, oh, it kind of makes sense that somebody did this on purpose.
Yeah. I know a lot of people don't like them, and I don't think they are as good as the first two. The first two will always be the best.
Yeah.
Because they were the first and they did it well. But I don't think they're as bad as people like to make them out.
I didn't think so. I saw them and had a perfectly good time, except for we went to the one Covenant, and it wasn't because of the movie. It's because we had to leave the movie because everyone in the theater was talking.
I hate that.
There were two different guys who were telling the people they were with basically the entire backstory of
Why are you there
everything.
then? If you don't know, why are you there?
I don't know. Like it seemed like he was there with his partner or whatever.
Yeah.
And that they had gone and she had never seen anything related to aliens before.
This is a pre-show conversation.
Our
theme for this show is Get Off My Lawn, I think.
I think so. Maybe a little bit. I went to see the band Ghost had like a concert movie that played in theaters. And I went with my wife. And, before we were going in an hour or whatever. And I was like, so there's like a whole backstory lore or whatever. And I was like, do you want me to tell you that stuff or do you just not care? Do you just want to go in and just be like, whatever?
What is happening? Yeah.
Yeah. And she was like, oh, yeah, I don't care. I'm just going to go in, whatever. And like the first character that pops up on screen, she's like, who's that? And I was like, no.
You had your chance.
I was like, I offered. I was going to give you as condensed a version as possible and explain things. And I was like, it's too late.
Yep.
Like, you're going to just have to deal with it.
I'm on your side on this one. You offered. It was denied. Chance is gone. You can have that conversation afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. And then after I was like, so, did you figure out how did it go? And she was like, it was just one of those movies where I was just like, surrender myself to the movie and just like let it wash over me. And it was fine. Yeah.
Excellent. Well done. Up for both of you.
Yeah. We worked it out.
Yep.
All right.
For you, I don't know. I do enjoy an essay, but I think I'm interested in Paradox Twins.
Okay. So Paradox Twins by Joshua Chaplinsky, published by the excellent Clash Books, it's a novel, and the basic story is it's two twin brothers, and their father has passed away, and so they kind of they're not like estranged, but they're not super tight, and they're adults, and they come back because the dad's dead, and they're cleaning out his house. There's the one brother who's kind of lived close by the whole time, and he's just kind of I think he's like a high school physics teacher or something like that. The other brother is like a super famous author. It seems like he's kind of a J.K. Rowling analog.
Okay.
But he wrote like a more sci-fi as opposed to fantasy series that, is just huge.
Star Wars, but a book.
Yeah. And like a younger audience, and it's a series and they've like grown up with it. And it's like, he wrote it in a bar that's in the town where their dad lived and where the one brother still lives. And like, it's famous for, and fans will go there and whatever. There's a third character who's like a young woman. She's probably like 19 or 20, lives next door with her mom. And so the incidents of the book, all three characters have written memoirs about what happens. And so the book is assembled by a sort of fictional Joshua Chaplinsky, who's putting these different accounts together in like a way that it makes sense so that there's all one narrative.
Right. Yeah.
And then he's got like some footnotes in there too. Not like a ton. It's not like an obnoxious amount, but enough.
That's a pretty common conceit for that type of storytelling. Yeah. I think Bram Stoker takes the same approach.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I discovered these.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's also some other stuff in it, like some court documents, and there's my personal favorite. There's a screenplay based on one of the three books that also there's just a couple chunks in there, and it's so ridiculous. Because like at one point, like one of the brothers, they're taking him to the hospital or something, and it goes to the screenplay version, and it's like an ambulance is like screeching around the corner and fishtailing, and everyone's screaming in the back and like, I need 10 cc's of this right now. God damn it. Like it's so good. It's so fun. And it's like, it comes at a very tense point in the book.
Okay.
So like,
good timing then.
Yeah, you're reading it and it gets a little heavy, and then it gives you a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
And not so much that it like destroys the tension because the things are still happening.
Right.
But it just gives you, it's like a new texture, and it comes at such a good time. Like I was so ready to have that happen, and I was laughing out loud reading it because I was like, this is amazing. So the story is kind of about they discover that their father was kind of a philanderer. Also, he worked for NASA and like keeps kind of appearing to all of them, or to the two brothers here and there in like a spacesuit. And it's like a weird sort of supernatural thing happening, or maybe like a time distortion thing happening. It's not totally clear until you get much further in the book, so I don't want to say all that.
Sure.
And then the young lady character is kind of finds her way into the book because initially she's interested in the author brother because she wants to be a writer and is like hoping to get like coaching from him and like mentorship or whatever. And then he thinks, though, that she wants to sleep with him because he's like, oh, I've been down this road,
Right.
whatever, with fans and that kind of thing. And then the other brother is just kind of trying to prevent that from happening because he's like, this is our like neighbor and she's like 19 and you're like 40. Like, no.
Calm down.
Let's not do this.
Don't be a creeper.
What if we didn't do that? Let's just, think about what if not. I really enjoyed like the 3 different books kind of comprising most of the book to keep it very fresh as it goes. And they're written differently enough that they have a very different vibe to them. At the same time, though, it's not so overdone that you're just like, the one brother is, sounds like Shakespeare and the other one's like, well, golly, and you're just like,
Right.
Okay, I know you're trying to differentiate, but this is not. But it's not like that at all. It's it keeps things moving along in a way that I think that style can really do. So anyway, it's like a little bit of a sci-fi story.
Okay.
A little bit of like a almost fictional journalism kind of thing. And also it's got that like propulsive feel of like a nonfiction has sometimes, I think. I was watching an interview with Fran Lebowitz. She was talking about, she went to Australia and she was like, I needed a book to read on the plane. And it's, 20 hours or something. So she's like, I needed a super long book. But she's like, also, I wanted it to be nonfiction because I feel like you can be reading something that's fiction and it's good, but then at some point it goes wrong. And then you're stuck reading, then I'm stuck in a plane with a book that I don't want to read. And she was like, I feel like a nonfiction book, if it starts out good, it'll probably stay good. And it's not, it's not going to take a narrative turn that I don't like.
Right. She can't criticize it and say like, well, that would never happen because it
Right.
happened.
Yeah. Maybe too, there's some element of like, well, a nonfiction, I think, is maybe perhaps more likely to be the length it requires to tell the story. Whereas like a fiction, you can always argue like, that could have been tightened up or, whatever.
Sure.
Anyway, this reads more like a nonfiction, which I enjoyed a lot. Like it was a lot more, it just had that feel to it to me. And that kept me going through it a lot faster than some other things that I've read. And he's a great writer. He's got a new book coming out, I think maybe late this year or early next year. I wish I could remember what it was called, but I really enjoyed his books.
Cool.
And this one I thought was good. And it's also a book that kind of uses a little bit of a sci-fi thing to tell a little bit of a family story, which, I always like that kind of thing, where it's like, we'll use this sort of, I don't know, a gimmick, a genre.
The fantastic, tells the real story of like human experience.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Tom Spanbauer always said, fiction is the lie that tells the truth truer.
Yeah.
And it's like you can look at what really happens in these family dynamics a little more unclouded because you're not thinking like, oh, someone wouldn't really act that way or whatever, because you're like, well, if we can do away with that because there's a spaceman, you know?
Yeah. I went and saw Amy Tan speak when she wrote The Joy Luck Club for anybody. And she signed one of my books, and she signed it Truth in Fiction.
Yeah.
Amy Tan. Which
Yeah.
always struck me because I believe that. Like, I think that I think that humanity understands itself best through stories. Like, we tell ourselves all kinds of stories about all kinds of, you know, the way we experience the world, the way that we justify our behavior, you know.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think most of us, you know, even if it's not like an ongoing actual narration in our head, we do like storyify what's happening to us all the time and whatever.
Yeah. So we can learn a lot by reading stories.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, why did that guy cut me off in traffic? And it's like, well, that's your framing of the story, but he didn't cut you off. He got over into the other lane at a bad time. But it has nothing to do with you.
Well, and then you can say like, well, maybe like there's someone at the hospital and he's trying desperately to get there. And
yeah.
Or maybe because that guy cut you off and now you're not going to make the light, maybe there would have been an accident.
Right.
And now you've been delayed just enough.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. And it's like a mundane thing, but maybe it wasn't. Yeah. Who knows?
And sometimes that stuff is true. Sometimes people would have been there if they had hit the light, you know?
It's true. Yeah.
Anyway. Cool.
So yeah, that's Paradox Twins.
That sounds interesting.
Highly recommend. All right. I want to hear how Rory Thorne destroyed the multiverse.
Okay.
In the novel, how Rory destroyed
how Rory Thorne destroyed the multiverse. This was really fun for me. I tend to enjoy a nice space opera, which is weird because until I read my first one, I did not think that it would be my thing.
Sure.
But really, it's just like an adventure that happens to be set in space. So this one, Rory Thorne's parents are the king and queen of the Thorne. I think the Thorne Collective is the name of like their world. And they're on this planet. They were a political marriage because that's the way things work when you're high-powered royalty. And her birth, happens, Rory's birth, and they decide that they're going to like go back to their roots and really do things the traditional way. And they have an ancient story in their family about how, you know, when there was a new royal birth, they would invite the fairies to come and give gifts. And so the vizier, like the advisor, he writes out letters and sends them. And there's a story about like the 13th fairy that, you know, got left out and then came and cursed like the ancestor. And so he writes out a letter to the 13th fairy, but the king is like, no, that's the bad one. Like, don't invite that one. Because he doesn't.
What are you doing?
He doesn't actually think that anyone's going to come. But they do. They do come.
This is, okay, just real quick. This is like, sorry, I've interrupted you.
No.
This is like a nightmare for me of like, I could imagine it's like a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode. Like, I'm going to invite everyone to this dinner party, but no one's going to come. And then I'll be happy about it. And then everyone shows up and you're like, what have I done?
Yeah. So it's Sleeping Beauty. Essentially, they come and they offer gifts of like, you know, you'll be able to sing well, you know, that people will like you. You know, like all of these like nice gifts, but you know, nothing that like as Rory grows up, she's like, these are all like superficial things, and like nobody, you know, understands me or likes me for me. And as she's like growing, she's actually like super smart, and it feels like a lot of these gifts are actually like maybe hidden advantages that are going to, benefit her more than she even thinks. So she's growing up, she's the heir, and then her mother gives birth to a boy. And I think right before or soon after his birth, her father is actually assassinated. And so the boy becomes the heir, and she becomes basically a political piece to be used for an alliance, for, you know, a marriage of alliance.
Right.
And she ends up on a space station. She's not of age yet. So basically she's living there to get to know the people, but, you know, they've managed to delay the wedding. And she stumbles on a pretty significant conspiracy in the government. And because of all of like her smarts and her skills and her abilities to like, there's like this form of magic that is almost like computer hacking. And she's able to like track down information and like hide her tracks. And she's really good at strategy. So she's able to like head off these like things that could force her to do something she doesn't want. Anyway, it's a lot of like political intrigue and wrapped up in fairy tale, all set like on a space station. And it just was fun, especially if I think you would have to enjoy that political intrigue stuff, that like positioning yourself, figuring out secrets, figuring out who you can trust, you know, trying to control the public narrative the way that you want so that you don't have to do the thing that you don't want. If you enjoy that, there's a ton of it here, and they're like all with these like little references to a bunch of different fairy tales. It's just so much fun. I enjoyed it. And there's a sequel that's out and it's on my reading list, but I haven't read it yet. But fun, good times.
It sounds like, you know, I feel like I can think of stories that happen like that are like old-timey, medieval stories or whatever.
Totally.
Like the whole political marriage. And then like discovers a dark secret, you know, and then it's like, how do I tell other people what's going on, you know, like, but that seems like a different setting for that kind of thing.
It is 100% the kind of story that you would find like a medieval, like she's, you know, the spoiled princess who's now like on her own in dangerous circumstances. But it is 100% in the future, full on space station, cloning, like all of it. Which I think makes it feel unexpected, and you know where it could go, but you also are not sure that it will go that way because things are like there's new options now. So I don't know, it was fun, and Rory was a great character. She's super loyal, loves the people who, you know, raised her, and will do unwise things to keep them safe. And I don't know, she's just likable and smart, and it was fun to watch her. Like the bad guy is like thoroughly unlikable, arrogant, upstart who just wants to like take power, doesn't deserve it, is not good enough for it. But
it's what you need, right?
Yeah.
You need a real hateable jerk.
You know, he is very hateable. And then he has some perhaps more complex sons. I don't know. It made for a fun reading experience. If you like a fairy tale and you like sci-fi, it's a fun molding of the two.
It sounds pretty cool. Yeah, I like when they do that, though. It's, I don't know, like an old-timey sort of feel and then put it in a different sort of context.
Yeah.
Whenever I hear about those two, I'm like, why didn't I think of that? You know? Or, you know, I don't know. I don't know why. That's just where my brain goes. I'm like, this seems like such an easy idea. But then I'm like, well, if it's such an easy idea, genius, why didn't
you come up with it?
Yeah.
Well, and I think the execution would be difficult. Because this is maybe just a me thing, but I think that science fiction's got to be one of the harder things to write. Because people really care if you get the science right.
Yeah.
And that just feels like a lot of research. Like I could write a fantasy novel and it's just that way because I said so, you know?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think, I'm trying to think like an exception. Well, I think like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, a book that I love, is one that it's like, it probably is in some ways sort of scientifically sound, but in other ways it's just goofy.
Yeah.
So it can get away with certain things because it's like, it's silly, you know?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it has that like scientific sort of creative, you know, they have the restaurant at the end of the universe. So they like time travel, watch the end of the universe while they eat dinner and then come back, you know, and
very like, Doctor Who.
Yeah. I like that stuff, though.
Yeah. Well, you might enjoy this. I thought it was fun.
All right. So I talked about The Shining and Paradox Twins. Event Horizon Dark Descent by Christian Ward. So this is one that I would say for me was like a mixed bag. I would say, though, I'm in a place of life currently where I am just tired of like, what's the backstory of this, or like, I think maybe I feel like this happened for me in a Star Wars context where I feel like Star Wars has gotten so expansive that like every little thing or character has a backstory now. And, is like Lobot is like a guy who has a whole story someone wrote about. You know what I mean? And I'm like, we don't need to know every, for me, there's like fun in the mystery of things sometimes, or like, I think there's something to be cheesy about it. There's something magical about like you step into a story and it feels like a fully populated world. And you can wonder, like, I wonder what that guy's, what brought that guy to this Mos Eisley cantina? But I don't actually want to know. Because then when you find out, a lot of times I think it's not as interesting. Like the stories sometimes fail to live up to the enjoyment of wondering. So I felt a little like that about Event Horizon Dark Descent. But I will say that that's based on my personal, like, automatic sort of dismissal of anything that's like the backstory of something. So the story is basically what happened right before the movie, like leading up to the movie. And this is a movie that like I do have a place for in my heart. Like as an adult, I watched it again and it was funny because like, okay, when I was a kid, this came out and I was like just the right age to be terrified by this movie.
I saw it and I thought the first half was really, really scary. And then I was disappointed in the second half. But
yeah. And like my friend went to it. I had a good friend. He went to it and then he was like, don't see it. It's too scary. Like he was like, I'm not screwing around. Like I regret going. He's like, I didn't sleep the entire night,
Which
like,
immediately made you go, gotta see it.
Yeah, I was like, well, and I was like, well, if you can go, I can go, like whatever. And I saw it and I was like, oh yeah, that was pretty scary. There's something very scary about like the idea. It's kind of like scary the way Hellraiser's scary or something. And you're just like, there's this whole realm of horrors, somewhere. And why did we unlock that?
Yeah.
That was a bad idea.
How did I end up here? This is not what I would like.
Yeah, this was not the plan. I guess for people who don't know, real quick, like Event Horizon, the story is someone has invented a spaceship that can travel faster than light by bending space, which is something that was completely ripped off in the movie Interstellar, I think. They did an explanation in that movie where someone folds a piece of paper in half and puts a pencil through it. Exactly ripped off from Event Horizon. And so they do the folding space thing. It was supposed to go somewhere and it disappears for like 7 years and then just pops up again. And so then there's a crew of people on a salvage ship and they're like, hey, go salvage this ship. Like, what's going on?
It'll be fine.
Yeah. And then, horrors ensue. So, I mean, it's good. It's, if you're into the backstory of it, whatever. I think I'm disappointed because I know there's a famous, the director's version of the movie. And then what hit theaters was extremely tamed from what the director shot. He shot a lot more, especially horror sequences and a lot more stuff. And that's like, I think it's like a famously lost cut and like the original film is gone. I think it may have been like burned in a fire or they didn't preserve it or whatever. Cause there's so many movies now that it's like they'll find a cut or a work print and they can kind of make it work. To the point that like even like a goofy comedy like Dirty Work, which is the Norm Macdonald movie that I really liked, but it's like so stupid. they have like a new version of it that has like more footage, which I would never imagine they would be like, even if someone found it, I think they'd be like, whatever. Anyway, I thought that's what this was going to be. I was like, oh, this will be, you know how like famously they did a novelization of one of the original scripts for Alien 3 and like they've done things like that.
I own that. I haven't read it yet. But.
Yeah. And I'm very curious about that. And so I am curious about the original Event Horizon, and that's what I thought this was going to be. So there was some disappointment, but that was my own fault for just going in thinking I was getting something that was never promised.
Your assumptions are not that book's fault.
Yeah. You know, no marketing person told me that's what it was going to be. That was just my own brain being like, I bet that's what this is. And then The Land and Its People by David Sedaris. I really enjoy his essays. He's like a complete weirdo. And like, he's smart and, you know, he speaks kind of eloquently, you know, and like he's observant. Yeah, and he's like kind of an upper crusty guy. But also he's just like super weird. And I think this book did something a little bit different, which is like, I feel like this book, the essays are even more self-aware of how weird he is or like how annoying he can be. Like he's become obsessed with Duolingo and like being at the top tier because he's always been like trying to learn languages and stuff. That's like an interest of his. And he's like, and unfortunately I discovered there's a competitive angle to Duolingo and it's ruined my life, you know, and he'll do it for hours. And so, but like, he's very aware how ridiculous it is. Or there's an essay about, apparently he got to meet the Pope along with, so I guess, I don't know if it's the current Pope or the one right before him, but the Pope hosted like a dinner with a bunch of comedians and comedy writers and just funny people. And I guess wanted to meet them and stuff like that. And so he writes a whole essay, David Sedaris, about being invited to this. And like the whole thing is kind of like, I don't really understand why this is happening. Yeah. You know, and then talking about like, he's like, I'm in a room with like Tina Fey and like all these very famous comedy people. And he's like, feels like he doesn't really fit in. And then at some point, for some reason, someone was like, they were telling jokes. And he was like, oh, God, you know, and like, it's
not that kind of funny.
Yeah. And he's like, not really like a joke teller per se. And it like comes around to him and he tells this joke and it just bombs, you know, and it's like just a street joke, like a joke book joke.
One of my jokes.
Yeah. It was like, yeah. And just the like, this is horrible. You know, like what a horrible situation to be in. Anyway, he's very entertaining. Also, his audiobooks are excellent.
Yeah.
He kind of works out his material. He writes in a diary every day and then puts things together into essays from that. And then he kind of massages it and works it out by going on tour. And he reads aloud and he like keeps track of how the crowd reacts and does all that stuff. So that's kind of how he hones it. So it's almost like it's meant to be heard out loud.
Yeah.
And I think the way he reads it and the way he kind of does impressions of people in his life and stuff, it's very good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know,
Did you listen to this one?
I did, yeah. Okay. Yeah, because that's my preferred David Sedaris ingestion style. So, yeah, that's my books.
All right, cool. Well, I talked about how Rory Thorne destroyed the multiverse by Kay Eason and Aliens versus Avengers by Jonathan Hickman. I listened to I See You've Called in Dead by John Kenney. This one ended up being, I don't know, I read something that called it like a middle-aged coming-of-age book, and that felt appropriate to me.
Okay.
Because it's this guy who got into writing obituaries and discovered he actually really enjoyed it because it's like, how can you tell the story of one person's life? You know, how can you sum that up and present them and the meaning that they brought to like the world in like a small article or a paragraph or whatever. And so he kept on doing that. He fell in love, he got married, and they were going to have a baby, and she had a miscarriage and then ends up cheating on him, and they end up divorced. So he ends up finding this like miraculous apartment in Manhattan. The guy who owns it owns the whole building, and he rents out the upper floor apartment for, a ridiculously low rate because he's very picky. He wants someone there that he, is interesting and entertaining and that he likes. So he, it's been listed forever. And then he finally meets this guy who writes obituaries and is kind of funny and awkward and gives it to him for a very affordable rate. And they become friends. And then, but he's like struggling because he's depressed, and he ends up publishing his own obituary. And it's enough to get him fired, but the HR software has marked him as deceased because his obituary was printed, and they can't fire a dead person. So he's in this weird like administrative limbo where he can't work but can't be fired. And so he's just kind of on leave and ends up filling his time. He goes to a funeral for someone that he knows, and he meets this woman who that's like one of the things she does in her free time.
Goes to funerals.
She goes to strangers' funerals. And she's like, you should come with me. There's this one's, happening whenever. And so he ends up going to a bunch of different funerals. And the experience of like seeing how they go and the way that, people behave at the funerals, it ends up like almost rewiring his brain and how he thinks about his own life. And so it ends up, I don't know. It ends up being a very like poignant kind of tear-jerky, but also hopeful, uplifting story about people. It was really good. I thought that it was going to be just like a funny book about this weird thing that happened, and it ended up being a lot more, about when you feel stuck in your life and you're not sure how to get out of it, and like changing your perspective can maybe change the trajectory of your life a little bit for the better. So thought it was quite good.
Sounds a little up my alley.
I think that you would like it. I do. And then I read Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert, which is just a really fun like teen romance. There's one kid, Bradley Graham. He has OCD, and he has been struggling with that. And he wants, like, what he loves is writing, but he is determined to become a lawyer like his dad because he knows that his family is going to like work really hard to support him through school. And he feels like he needs to like make something out of that and like make it worth their investment. So rather than studying writing, which is what he wants, he's like, I'll go to law school because that feels like what I should do. And then you have Celine Bangura, and she's kind of a minor TikTok star. She has a TikTok channel all about like conspiracy theories, and she has gotten somewhat of a following based on that. And she comes from a single parent household. Her mom, raised her. Her dad kind of abandoned the family and started a secondary family, and she's got a lot of baggage around that. And his bank actually funds this scholarship program that is run by one of her like personal idols. And so she's like, I'm going to go for this scholarship program because I can meet one of my personal idols. I can potentially get a full ride scholarship. And I can go through this leadership program. And also if I win, like that'll show my dad, like I'll be there and I'll be like,
learn him.
Yeah. You abandoned me, but it didn't matter. And so, go jump off a cliff. And so they end up in the same scholarship program. It's like a survival camp thing where they have to learn like teamwork and leadership and all of this stuff. And he has OCD and she is like a dedicated city girl. And so they're kind of fish out of watery and they end up having to work together. And their friendship kind of reconnects and then maybe develops into something more because they're older now. And it's just really sweet and cute. And it's what I come to expect from Talia Hibbert, which is she takes characters who are maybe not commonly seen as like the the leaders in love stories, like people with OCD or, chronic illness or disability. And she puts them in the front seat, and they are fully developed, wonderful characters who get their deserved happily ever afters. And it's funny and sweet and lovely. And I always enjoy her. And this was no different.
That was just what you were explaining, like, just struck me that I was like, this is why I don't really like Hallmark movies very much. Because I was like, the characters aren't very interesting.
Yeah.
It's always just like lady
Yeah.
who's too attached to her job.
Catalog pretty human.
Yeah.
Meets other catalog pretty human.
Yeah.
With average lives.
Yeah, and they don't really have like much personality.
Yeah.
They don't have anything going on really.
Yeah. My weird characteristic is that I dream of opening a cupcake shop.
Yeah, and you're like, I mean, you could probably just do that.
Yeah,
like,
that's
I don't
not
know.
that weird.
Or not do it, but that's not like, it's not like a character trait, right? To like want something.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I don't know, like, yeah, give me something. Just
Yeah.
give me a little something.
Yeah.
Hallmark, call Talia Hibbert
Talia Hibbert.
and have,
She has a bunch of books. Just pick one and adapt it, man.
or just, when you have your script for whatever, just have her punch it up a little.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I bet she could just throw in a couple things
Yeah.
and it would improve it like 20%.
She's great. And she also has experience because she has, mental health struggles. And I think she might have OCD or something anyway, she has she's experienced a lot of this. So she's not just making it up. It's informed by her own lived experience. And
Yeah.
she's wonderful. And more people should read her.
Maybe they will.
I hope so.
All right. Well, that's our books. Mm-hmm. And I'll take us out with a library fact.
Excellent.
This is my favorite library fact I've learned in a very long time.
I'm excited to
And
hear
it
it.
just sort of happened by chance. So our outreach department this year is 85 years old, I think. It's their 85th anniversary, which is pretty old.
Especially for our state. I
Yeah.
think we were the first. One of.
Probably, yeah. I think very likely it was one of the very first ones because at that time it was Weld County. And so Weld County did have people in it, but it was so rural. So, a bookmobile is a good idea.
Yeah.
I found out the company, which I think is called Gerstenslager, that made HPLD's first bookmobile, is also the manufacturer of the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile.
Amazing.
I know. This blew my mind.
Our own personal connection.
I know. I was like, this is awesome.
That is amazing.
I don't know what I'm going to do next time because I'm like, there's not going to be a library fact that I enjoy more than that.
That's a good one.
Apparently they were a huge manufacturer they made specialty vehicles, so they would make I don't know, a milk truck or an ice cream truck or whatever. And then they got into the business of making bookmobiles because, they had experience and they're like, oh yeah, we could do that, you know. And
it's not just a van, you need special stuff.
yeah, and so they could they would take a chassis from a truck or something and manufacture special shells for it. And so then, I guess Oscar Mayer was like, we want this Wienermobile thing. And they were like, yeah, we could do that.
Yeah, right. Awesome.
I just thought that was amazing.
I love it. Great fact.
Thank you. Thank you. Prepare to be disappointed next time.
No, it'll be fine. We'll forget this one. It'll fade a little bit.
That's true. That's true. Although now I'm feeling like I will remember it because I've made such a big deal out of, not remembering.
Well, don't drag us down with you.
Okay.
Just remember it wistfully, but don't remind us that we should also be remembering it.
No need to ruin it for everyone.
That's right.
Just because you've ruined it. All right. We'll see you next time.
Bye.